Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Derry and this is my brother.
Hi!
And today we're here to talk about Daredevil Born Again, episode 7, Art for Art's Sake. So this is your chance now to leave before we get into any spoilers.
3, 2, 1, police.
Right, so a lot to go over in the last episode where we had the confrontation finally between Daredevil and Muse. This is sort of like the after effect now. And the whole episode is about a race against Fisk and his anti-vigilante task force.
Trying to get to Muse first.
Before Daredevil and vice versa. Because at the very intro of this episode, you see Fisk hearing about Daredevil coming back as his resurgence. He gets told by Buck, who is his right-hand man, that that there was evidence left behind, basically, and seen or heard that the niece of Hector, White Tiger, that there was another person then that was Daredevil.
Yes.
And that was all he needed to know.
Because I've seen that clip and I really liked it because Fisk talks about how Daredevil managed to bring down like this 10-year like multi-layered business that he made, and I just thought that scene was really cool to kind of show how angry Fisk is about that.
Yeah, I mean 10 years of a big business and he took it all down.
And just show like how much all that meant to him.
Yeah.
So then we had.
So I mean that was a bit later on actually. But it wasn't part of the intro, but it was later on.
Oh yeah, it was later on, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, when he found out that Daredevil, he knew that Matt was back in the business of becoming Daredevil again. It was like, okay, so he's gone back to his old ways.
Yeah.
And because obviously we know Fisk has also been going back to his old ways as well. So he sees this now as an opportunity that he needs to get to Muse first to sort of like reinforce to everybody that having his task force is the better way. Because I didn't know at first actually if he was going to pin this whole thing on Matt and say like Daredevil's, the bad guy, go after him instead,
Especially with actually no, get into that later. Isn't there a scene with White Tiger's niece?
Yeah, so in the beginning bit, so after the intro, there's this scene where she has like sort of nightmares, flashbacks to the last episode where she was in the hideout. Basically, she sees posters of basically all of the Muse's targets, the people he's kidnapped and stuff like that, or up-and-coming targets. So, because later on, Matt pays her a visit in the hospital and tries to find out, because he's still on the hunt. In fact, actually, there's a scene in this episode where he's talking to Cherry, who's coming to him with some information. And it is like, I tell you this, and you go off and you go back to your old ways. And he's like, tell him, well, I did the one, in one night I did what not even the cops
the police couldn't do, because the police weren't doing anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. And so Cherry's not on ball with him now anymore. He's not giving any more information. He's starting to drift away now because Matt is going back to his old ways. Yeah.
To being Daredevil.
So he has to go and find out now for himself, where's Muse. Because as he said to him that he's gone into survival mode. And I thought to myself, because after that now, he ain't going to do his same old stuff, going back to the same hideout and stuff. He's going to now be on the run. He realizes it's only a matter of time before people start to catch on to him and who he actually is as a person. So he goes to the Nathan Hospital and asks, was there anything else there, that you could tell me that could let me know who his next target is so I can get and stop him first. And she does say to him, there was a lot of pictures around there, that, his art and stuff like that. So it could be, targets on who he's going after next.
So then after that, doesn't he go to Muse's headquarters? I say headquarters, base.
It was a hideout. It's hideout in a subway. It is like all these trains passing by, but I mean they've closed it off now because the police are there now. Business. And Fisk is vigilante task force because he wants them to lead the charge on finding Muse first.
Because doesn't he sends them down to Muse's hideout, doesn't he?
Yes.
When he finds out about.
Yeah, he does find out. Yeah, so when he finds out about Muse, because the actual police are telling Fisk they're keeping him up to date, but then any information he gets, he's given to his task force, so they can be the ones to spearhead to get to Muse first. So they're in the hideout, updating him. Then Daredevil shows up and goes into the hideout, and then this is the bit I don't know. I was kind of a bit iffy on. I don't know if anyone can explain this a bit more to me. I know Daredevil's got his heightened senses, and I know when I explained this to you, you kind of gave an explanation as well. And I'm sort of agreeing with you with this about what you said. Is when he's feeling these like paintings, these artworks that Muse has done. Like I understand, he felt, Heather's face, who's the love interest for Matthew Murdoch. I understand, he recognizes her face, but to recognize it on the paper, I didn't understand. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand, like, he'd remember her face if he felt it and stuff like that, but on the paper, and then you told me that's probably because of the texture.
Yeah, probably of the texture of, like, the paint, blood thing, whatever. Probably, like, that texture, because obviously paint has, like, a certain sort of texture to it, so he's probably able to feel that texture and know by, like, the shape and how it's painted.
Yeah, and that's why I'm sort of agreeing with you on there, is that maybe that is what it is. Like, he feels like the textures of the paint, because I could see, like, ripples in the, well, I say ripples, there's, like, these markings in the paint, so I'm going off that that's how he recognizes. It's just at first I was like, how did he know? I mean, I know he's got all these senses and stuff, but to go from a painting on a piece of paper to recognizing it, it was her and stuff. But, as you said, it was probably because Muse is such an artist that he's probably done, like, all these, like, I don't know, like,
painting,
actual
like,
textures on the painting that actually shows it's her face. But anyways, he finds out, so he now just goes up. There's this funny bit where the cop does come in.
Oh, yeah, like the dirty cop that, well, we assume was the one that shot, it's like,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it's assumed that it is, because when Matt questioned him in the precinct, and he was like, held him up against a wall, said, my, family has been in this business for years and stuff. I did not shoot him, and he could, like, hear his heartbeat.
Oh yeah, so then maybe it wasn't him.
I don't know. I feel like there's something hidden there that that we're not aware of yet about that specific cop and his sort of like involvement into the whole thing. I don't know.
But Daredevil does throw the baton at his head to knock him out.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. He just says, "Who's there?" He throws a bat and he goes unconscious and he's like, "Shit," and then he just moves on, like, So I thought that was pretty funny. So now it's a race, because now both Fisk and his task force and Daredevil now know about who his next target is, Heather, the psychiatrist.
Yes, and don't they go to Heather then? Don't you have like a scene with Heather?
Yes, actually, while all that's kicking up, because the guy's name is Bastian Cooper, I think it is, and he's already there. Because we see him in like the first or second episode that he says you inspired me to be who I am, basically, he says stuff like that, and he has a book and everything from her. So he's there to actually get some psychiatry help, and then through this transition between him and a cop who was in the bank robbery with the Irish gang talking to Fisk, going over Muse's sort of origins in a way. I say origins, it's not like complete origins.
Yeah, but didn't you say that it's very like vague?
Yeah, sort of, well, you find out first of all how he can fight. It's Taekwondo, which explains a lot, because all like the fighting he was mostly doing with was his legs, which is what Taekwondo is. It's like, legs, feet, kicking, all that type of stuff. Which does explain that. Apparently, had it like sort of forced upon him when he was about 16, and it was with this elite Taekwondo martial artist who was living with him and his parents. Because his parents wanted to force like sort of this one athlete in the family, and forced it upon him. So he didn't want to do it, but it was just forced upon him. But apparently 3 months later, this person that was teaching him ended up dead and was just left on the estate, and nothing was seen or heard about the case.
Because didn't they not do any investigation?
No, they didn't do an investigation, no.
So...
Bit weird, like, but I mean...
yeah.
For a 16-year-old, I don't know. I mean, a person who's a martial artist who's laid up dead. I mean, I don't know how he died. It's just, he said he just found his body on the estate.
And that, didn't you say the cause of death was like unknown, basically?
Yeah, pretty much.
But
he also had some other problems. He was banned from a few places. I think he had some school issues as well. I think he was just supposed to give you the idea that he's kind of like mentally sort of unstable. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you say that when he's having the talk with Heather that he says that Heather like inspired him or something?
Yes, I think. Yeah, go on.
I don't understand how he could have, how she could have inspired him, unless because, you have to assume that he's read her books.
Let's just say, okay, that the guy, the Taekwondo martial artist is probably he did kill him. That's probably one death. Now, go from one death to 60 people in New York, that's something else completely. I mean, I would say that maybe when he moved over there, he started reading her books, because he did say that, and you saw You're the Key, you sort of inspired. So instead of trying to fix him, trying to help him, it's had like the opposite effect and maybe pushed him to becoming more, as he said in there, to become more my true self, which is Muse. And I feel like, right, so basically what you're saying is the books have probably just done the opposite effect in terms
of what they were trying to do. They were trying to help people with their mental issues, but
he
in the
probably
end,
he probably does think though that she has helped him, just not in the
way that she wanted.
Yeah.
So that would kind of be like ironic, though.
Yeah, but that's the kind of premise I'm going off there, is that when he went there, he read the books, and that's when he started to devolve into Muse, you know, had the costume and all this business, the canvas. Actually, that's kind of cool that the suit is like the canvas as well.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, they say in there actually, because the detective is like pulls up, you know, who's been buying these pieces of canvas, and it's very expensive, very rare. Only 12 people in the last 2 weeks, and I bought that a few weeks ago, and it's 12 people, and the one person they couldn't find was Bastian, so it was more of a
oh yeah, because didn't you say that's how
process of elimination.
Didn't you say that's how they figure out who Muse is?
Yeah, Bastian. Yeah. Oh, the idea is that, you know, they narrowed it down, but then when they looked into his background, then they found out what we just talked about. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was also his costume made out of. You see his descent when she is talking to him. You know, he was in a fight in the last episode, so his nose starts bleeding a little bit. And he draws like the picture of Muse on this piece of paper, and she realizes who he is, and she tries to get out. He stops her. Some scenes I can't go over with you, but essentially they get into a struggle, and just before he kills her, Daredevil does manage to get there first.
Oh yeah, and then doesn't he fight Muse?
He does. It's a cool fight scene. So like last episode, you know, there's a lot of tussle going on, but it was something I wasn't expecting here. He dies.
Oh yeah, because doesn't Heather shoot him?
Yes. Well, I was explaining to you earlier on about that. Basically, they get into a struggle when Daredevil like pushes him to the side for a second. She picks up the gun and shoots him. So I thought to myself in that moment, so that's it for Muse then. I mean, I didn't know, because I thought he's meant to be such like a setup character. I thought he was going to be to the end of the season. I was like the whole season.
Considering
villain.
the fact that they said that he was the main villain of the season,
that's
you'd
what
think
I
he was going to be the villain up until like the last episode.
Yeah,
but
I thought he was going to be. I thought they were going to use this episode to sort of like. He kidnaps her, and then you'll have to like try and find him in this episode, next episode, or have more of the thing where the vigilante task force sort of interrupts Daredevil for actually trying to find her, and then like episode 9, then he does find her. But obviously not. I mean, he's ended now. I mean, he's definitely dead. I mean, he took 3 shots, so I don't think he's going to be getting back up anytime soon. Although I have heard, interestingly, that in the comics, he's an Inhuman. So I don't know what his actual Inhuman powers are, but I mean, unless it involves some kind of resurrection,
then you've got to assume that he's dead.
Yeah. So he's dead. Heather's in hospital. She's recovering. She's fine.
Yeah.
By the way. You know, Matt tries to comfort her. She does remember that there was someone else there and she does recognize, you know, that the person recognized her name because it called out to Heather.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you have that. Fisk now knows. He goes there. He takes credit for everything.
Yeah,
well,
because
his task force takes credit.
Obviously, no one really saw Daredevil. Well, aside from like a few people who may have saw him, no one really saw him, so they can take credit for the fact that, well, the alleged fact that they killed Muse.
Yeah. Because he gets there, he starts sparkling this idea in his head, because the cop basically tells him that it's so chaotic up here, you know, we know that there was someone else in here, but you know, everyone else outside wouldn't know that. And Fisk then sparks this idea into his head, you know, this is a perfect opportunity to sort of enforce my task force, that give them the credibility they need to be put on the streets of more like a bigger force out there, by saying we took down Muse. In fact, he goes on the news actually when Matt's in hospital, and he listens to the news. Even though it was Heather that killed him, she feels bad about it, and he's trying to say don't be, and all that, you know, he was, you know, a psycho. He hears then Fisk on the TV basically taking credit for everything, and they have the mask of Muse, and it's like, oh my god, well, I don't know now what the implications of this are. Like, it's gonna be a bigger task force, you know, is it just gonna be, you know, they're gonna have more weaponry to deal with these guys? I don't actually know how it's gonna go, But one person has been cotton on to all this is Bibi Urich, who's the news reporter going around everywhere, you know. But Daniel, who is
Fisk's like not right hand man,
no,
but like assistant.
but yeah, assistant guy, you know, wants to
help him.
Yeah.
And in a way.
In a way, yeah. Did threaten her really. I mean, she's, you know, he said a bit of a warning, but it's like a real threat, let's be honest, because he did say to her that unless you say it was the Vigilante Task Force and not Daredevil that did it, then there's going to be problems. And that's really hinting at, yeah, if you don't basically say what we want you to say,
then
you're
going to
disappear.
Kill you.
Yeah, I'll disappear, yeah. So she's now being threatened, even though she wants to get down to the truth, and that she understands, you know, Daredevil was the one that did it. I'm trying to get that out there, but I don't know. I don't know if she'll cave in, but we'll see. But the other side of the story, how it ends off, is in like the middle of this episode. You see Vanessa, one of the leaders of the gang.
Oh yeah.
Who has a problem with
Fisk.
Fisk and his dealings of stuff, and wants to go back to the way things were when Vanessa took over.
And it was all organised, and there was actually someone in charge.
Yeah, so basically he wanted her help to take down Fisk. At the very end, you see her give a text message like on her phone to him of an address saying that he's alone in a restaurant. I did think to myself though, it's Vanessa, I really doubt she's helping you. And it's probably more of a, I'm luring you out there to get killed off. Because we give you so much time to give all this money back and stuff, and you've just been, you know, not paying it back, and you're just constantly causing chaos out there. It's better to have you gone. And there's Fisk, you know, just chilling, you know, just having his food, like, you know, yeah, everything's fine. I've cleared out the place just so I can eat by myself. And this guy shows up with a gun, he's about to kill him off, and then Buck, who's like sort of cloaked in the shadows and by a curtain. So you just see this massive flash and then kills him off. And Fisk doesn't even flinch, which is kind of cool because he's just so used to it all now, and he's so confident in his lackeys and his assistants to pull off the jobs he wants him to do. And he's like, please tell my wife if she would want me to bring back anything. And it's like, yes, sir. And then he just carries on. It's like, oh wow, okay, how nice.
He was so important, wasn't he?
So no, I liked the episode. I kind of wanted Muse to go on a bit longer, to see, like, you know, a bit more, I guess, of his origin and confrontation at the very end of finding out more stuff about him. But, you know, all in all, I thought it was a good episode. I'm just interested now, though, how these next and last two episodes are going to go, because we've only got 8 and 9 now left, and then that's this season over.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot to fit in. The task force, will Fisk be mayor still at the end of all this? I'd like to think so.
Well, I mean, you'd have to assume so, because the rumours are that it'll be like villains of things like in Spider-Man and stuff.
Yeah, and are we going to get any more information about the Punisher being there? What's happened to Karen? And what you said to me, was it the last episode or a few episodes ago, where you said Foggy might still be alive?
Yeah, because obviously he could be dead, and they might keep him dead, but also there have been hints throughout the show that he's still alive, especially when I think in the first episode it was, there's an address when in like the first shot of a comic book number, and it was apparently in that comic Foggy fakes his death.
Interesting, so they could go with that then. It's interesting because we know Fisk wants to use Red Hook in the portal. There may be some bigger plot line with that down the line set up for season 2. So that, can you think of any more questions?
Other than what would you rate it? No.
I'd rate it I think just because of the fact Muse could have gone on a bit longer and stuff like that. I think I'd give it an 8. But I think it was still a really good episode.
In that case, I can't think of anything else to add.
But if there's anything that you guys would like to ask us, then feel free to leave it down in the comments and we'll get back to you as soon as we can on what you've been thinking of this series so far. So that is going to be it from me, Dewi, and my brother.
Oh,
and we will catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.